All right, well, let's jump into the news. So the first news story that we have is around Switch Online expansion. So Nintendo has revealed full details and pricing as part of the Animal Crossing Direct of the upcoming expansion upgrade for their Nintendo Switch Online membership, and it has caused a little bit of a kerfuffle. So coming on the 25th of October 2022, the upgrade will double the price in Australia. So if you're on a single, it will go from about $30 to 60 Australian dollars. A family plan, exactly the same. So it's gone from a very reasonable $55 to $110 now. And amazingly, it's even more expensive for our US friends, most of our listeners. It's like a 150% increase. So for them, I think it's gone from about $20 for a single membership to $50, which is
nuts.
incredible. And they've also eliminated, just similar to Sony, the 1 and 3 month options. So you have to get it in a full chunk, 12 months now. Just going through the library, both for the 64 and Mega Drive quickly, and then we'll probably just, open it up to our thoughts on it. So again, for the 64, you can play locally, you can play online. Biggest piece of news for me was that they've confirmed that in the PAL regions, this is very archaic now, what are we bringing up? But they actually will have 60 hertz versions, so 60 frames, not 60 frames per second per se, but 60 hertz versions. So in Australia and the UK, we actually played in a lot of the games slower versions of the games, including the sound, which is pretty amazing to think about it now. But they have confirmed that if you play it in English, it will run at 60 hertz. If you play it in any non-English language, it will run at 50 hertz, and you can play a 50 hertz English version if you want, but I don't really know why you do that. The 8 games at launch that have been confirmed: Dr. Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, Mario Tennis Sin and Punishment, StarFox 64, or Lilac Wars as it was called in Australia, Super Mario 64, Ocarina of Time, WinBack, Covert Operation, and Yoshi's Story. And they've also confirmed 7 future titles: Banjo Kazooie, F-Zero X, Kirby 64, Mario Golf, Paper Mario, Pokemon Snap, and Majora's Mask. On the Mega Drive side, also very similar with the local and online co-op play, just like they already currently have. And the 14 games are Castlevania Bloodlines, Contra Hardcore, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Echo the Dolphin, Golden Axe, Gunstar Heroes. I don't know how to say this one. Do you know how to say this one, Swinny?
I'd just say Musha.
Musha. That's I was going to go with Fantasy
I actually
Star.
don't know about that game.
Yeah, Fantasy Star 4.
USHA.
The End of the Millennium, Rise Star, Shining Force, Shinobi 3, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, Streets of Rage 2, and Strider. The other thing that they confirmed, which wasn't confirmed prior, is that they're actually including a DLC, which they announced separately, which was the Animal Crossing New Horizons Happy Home Paradise DLC. So in Australia, that's priced at $37.50. If you have this expansion pack, it will actually come with it, which is interesting. If you've got a lot of Animal Crossing players in the house, it probably makes sense. And then the other thing that they'd already announced, but they had it on sale, was the Nintendo 64 controller, which is 70 Australian dollars, and the Sega Mega Drive / Genesis controller, which was 70 Australian dollars. And the 64 controller is already sold out in America and in Australia
Big surprise.
on the day that it went live. So,
I am actually surprised, but I have thoughts on all of these things.
Swinny, just to open up the batting, the price increase, was this like in the realm of possibility for you?
Oh, look, I'm surprised by this amount. Definitely. Like, I thought, look, it wasn't going to be $5. Let's say, like $29.95 for a year. I could have expected it to be $40, right? And that would have been like, oh, that makes sense.
Is that the max that you were expecting?
Well, I didn't sit there really thinking too hard about it, honestly. So, like, I just remember at the time thinking it was going to be a partial amount increase, not a 100% double the price. Like that came as a shock. And as you mentioned, we're lucky in that regard compared to some of the other areas in the world. So,
yeah. How about you, Mike?
Well,
As someone who's mooching off my membership,
someone who's mooching. Well, so I'm gonna guess here that a big component of this cost is coming from licensing from Sega.
I think so.
That's probably where the biggest component maybe comes from. I don't know, hypothetical. I'm just making this shit up. Then there's going to be an element of let's just increase the price a little bit extra because we're offering a whole new array of games. So they could get away with a little bit more. But double the price, I'm just gonna just say that's bullshit. I don't know what the licensing fees are for Sega. I just can't imagine how this could have doubled the costs for Nintendo to offer this service. Even if you take into account, I don't know, slightly bigger download sizes or something, it doesn't add up to me at all. And I think it's really customer unfriendly to be doing this. It's over the top in my opinion, but there's people who will gladly pay that amount to be able to get access to these new games. So,
and like part of the reason why you're in my family, which we're family, we live in the same house and everything.
Bros.
It's like I already needed the family membership anyway, and they have eight people total. They can be on the same membership,
which is a good deal.
So I was like, 55 Australian dollars for the year, family, like 8 different members. There's a few people I know who are in the family, like definitely in my family, that are a part of it. And it was kind of almost like, I'm not going to go out and ask you for $4 for the year or whatever it is, But I have to say,
now,
with the increase, I'm actually, and this is what I want to get to, I actually don't think I'm going to upgrade it. Which kind of for someone like me who's probably embarrassingly a bit of a mega fan of Nintendo and almost buy everything that they do, but it's the same reason why when I looked at the 64 controller and it was 70 Australian dollars, I'm like, 70 Australian dollars, far out. That's bloody expensive. And it's got a lot of tech in it. It does actually have a rumble pack in it, wireless, all that kind of stuff. It's chunky. It's a chunky boy, but man, $70.
It's a lot for
it sold out, and I'm like,
but that's why I'm surprised it sold out. But
I didn't actually feel like, oh, okay, I missed out. I just actually my feeling was, I'm kind of glad it sold out because then I don't have to worry about buying it and
for now
getting weak and buying it. How about you, Swinny? Because like I said, you're mooching off my thing, so it's really if you bother me and want to get the 64 thing, and then we'll work it out. But Swinny,
I'm not. Oh, sorry. I thought you said Swinny. You're mooching. I'm
no, you're not mooching. I'm saying Mike's mooching. You're not mooching. You've got your own thing. Are you going to upgrade?
So I've got a few different conflicting kind of points on this. Like before, when you asked me, obviously I didn't state whether or not I actually thought the increase was justified or not. I will upgrade at some point. I'm not going to rush to upgrade because I don't want to upgrade and then just me, I've always got so many games. I kind of want to have a time when I'm not playing a lot of games I'm super interested in that I can actually sit down and say, hey, now they've added Paper Mario. That's a game I never actually played through properly. Now I can actually play through that. So for me, it's kind of, I'm going to wait until they add a few more titles that are kind of something I haven't experienced. And, they've got Sin and Punishment there for launch, which is a game I could never got my hands on. So I don't even know if they ever released that in Australia. I don't think they did. I know they put it on the Wii Virtual Consoles and stuff. But basically, Sin and Punishment was such a late release that I think fairly certain it didn't come to Australia. But it's... The thing for me is if I look at this in the context of we've got this existing $30 membership, it's ridiculous, that price increase. If I look at this as if this was a brand new service for that amount of money, I actually don't have a problem with it. So it's the reason being is that when you actually still add it up across the year versus the titles you can have access to, I actually think it's very reasonable. But the thing is, we're going from a $30 thing to double the price is what I have the issue with. And the other thing I have the issue with is that they don't give you any option to purchase these games in any way. Right now, if they did, if they said, hey, you could actually purchase these individually for $15, right? Some people will probably pick and choose, right? But still, if you add up the fact that even if they charge only $10 for them, that's $30 that you've got to going to have access to all these. Plus, and the Mega Drive stuff I'll get to in a second. There's a lot of these games are actually very substantial games, way more than the SNES games, and definitely more than the NES games. So you're actually getting much more content than you compared to those other services. But the jump is the thing I have the problem with, and the fact that they're cutting out the ability to only get it for 1 or 3 months.
So that's absolutely
ridiculous.
That this all looks into God. Sorry, I don't mean to butt in, but this all looks intentional to me. Obviously, because they know that if they offer 1 or 3 months, people will just get the 1 or 2 games that they actually want to play from the catalog, and then that's it. They'll drop the membership. Maybe they'll get it for another 3 months or something just to finish the games they want, and then that's it. So they force people, I'd imagine, to do it for the full year so they can pay the full price. Probably only play 2 or 3 of those games. Again, obviously not offer them separately, because then people would just buy the 1 or 2 titles they actually give a shit about. This is intentional. Clearly, it's intentional. I mean, and again, I find it extremely customer unfriendly to do it this way. So it's such a, to me, I feel like it's such a, it makes sense for Nintendo to do it, but because I've never been a huge Nintendo lover, I guess. I mean, I've appreciated the games that they've made, but I'm just seeing through this, if that makes sense. I'm seeing the sneaky marketing that they're using, and to me, it's almost hypocritical of them to do these really cool, family friendly games, yet have really, really horrible tactics like this, in my opinion.
Have you ever met a company that they were inspired by called Disney?
Yeah, I know.
It's literally changed their whole corporate culture, Disney, when they did one deal with them with the Hanafuda cards. Sin and Punishment never released in the West, actually, for 64. Yeah, like, I don't know why I didn't remember that. One thing for me, Swinny, was like, I feel like, genuinely, like, let's be real, the Nintendo Switch Online shit. Like, it's the worst of all. Download rates are the worst. It's genuinely worse than the 360. It's probably more on par with the Xbox original Live, and maybe worse than that. No voice chat, flaky as hell. Smash is annoying if you're not got a LAN connection. Even when that, it's still not ideal. I kind of just wonder, though, with the price point they hit originally, everyone's reception was like, that's cheap. Like, it's shit, but it's cheap. Right? Which I think if you're a business, you're never wanting to hear that. If people go, oh, that's really cheap, it's really crap, it's cheap. You want people to have a bit of a mixed view on it, and then you go, okay, we've priced it right. I feel like I wonder if they've gone far out with, like, price is wrong. We need to bump it up. How do we do this? And this is kind of a bit of the correction that they've made to take some of the punishment.
Good point.
And it's shit. Like, it's way too much. I feel like even with the correction, even if they shaved, like, $10 off it, it's way more reasonable. Like, if they said it was like $50, I'd be like, dude, like $50, really? But this is so much, it's gone the other way. I don't think I'm gonna get it. I'm in the same boat as you, Swinny. Like, I don't need any of those games. I played almost all of those games. Probably 3 of the games I'm really keen to play are actually the confirmed future games. So I think I'll just hold out there.
Sorry, go Swinny.
No, the last thing I was going to say was, I think the selection they've done for the Mega Drive is actually absolutely fantastic. Like, Castlevania Bloodlines, Contra Hardcore, like, those games are such classics, especially Contra Hardcore. And then you add in Phantasy Star 4, which I've never played. Like, I'm actually mostly keen to play those games because I grew up with the SNES, right?
Yeah.
Now, no, that stuff's been available, a lot of them on Mega Drive collections and things. I'm not talking Sonic. That game's been released, like Sonic 2 and all that stuff. It's the fact that, like, Castlevania Bloodlines hasn't been available on that many things, or Contra Hardcore, you know. So I am really keen to play that. And I know that wasn't really part of the announcement news, but it does form part of the fact why I would be okay with subscribing to this. I just wish they didn't force you to do it for 12 months. That is the part that I just can't fathom.
Yeah, you're like, great point. Like, the Mega Drive Genesis titles, like the best Sonic game, it's actually an insane list of games.
Heroes, you know, games like that are absolute classics.
If people do subscribe to this and they've never played the Mega Drive or Genesis, like, get into this catalog. Like, you pretty much play any of these games. Echo the Dolphins are okay, but most of them are like either the best in their series or just standout games on their own. Maybe for the final point with you, Mike.
Two final points. I wonder how much it would cost to just get a 64 with secondhand somewhere, and then just get 1 or 2 of the games you actually want to play.
Just give me the
It'll
short
probably
story
be
on that
more
one.
nowadays, yeah, unless you get lucky at a flea
Like
market.
100 years worth of subscription.
It's also the fact. It's also the
maybe
fact.
it's not so bad.
It's also the fact that unless you go down the emulation route, like, just getting them to look, you could, like, most of the ways you're going to be
Yeah.
able to get them to look on modern TVs aren't going to be great unless you spend a lot of money anyway. So
Sorry, I just bumped my microphone if you could hear that in the audio version, but I was trying to grab the Wii U that's on my desk. I mean, like, that's the thing, right? I can
Switch one
still
for
just
now.
play the Wii U version of all of these games which are on Virtual Console,
until they take the store down, though.
which they will. So very shortly now.
Yes, yes.
After this, surely they will. So just a quick point about the DLC for Animal Crossing. Also the free DLC. Is it too little, too late? I don't know. I mean, I've been out of the Animal Crossing game for quite a while. I don't know if you I don't think you're still on it.
I believe this is their last big update for the game.
Okay.
So that they said essentially it's like that's why it's like a big paid expansion pack. And
But I mean-
they will sell tons of this, or people will buy the upgrade. Like this will sell because people want more.
No, like absolutely.
Just
Don't
to
get me wrong,
clarify, because I don't want to do a correction. So there's two DLCs essentially. There's the title upgrade that Animal Crossing is doing to version 2.0. So that's free. There's a bunch of stuff they're adding in there, and it's actually really cool stuff like Brewster and a whole bunch of other stuff. And then there's the paid DLC, which is like based on, it's pretty much the 3DS game, which was a separate game that was linked to New Leaf, but this is like integrated as DLC, which has been the strategy of Nintendo now. I don't think it's too late. I think it's actually really good. Just going back to the whole DLC being part of it, I have seen some takes from people saying, I wonder if like DLC will be a part of this thing in the future. If they do that, that might be like the most unbusiness-like move Nintendo could ever make. Like that is like the total opposite of the business move, the strategy of why you even have DLC. Like, you monitor DLC pricing, it never goes down, or very, very rarely, and only fractionally, because you're already talking about people who have to be pretty into the game to then want the DLC extra. It doesn't make any sense to have that as like a Game Pass alternative. But
I think this is a good test case for them.
I don't think it is, because Animal Crossing is the second most popular game on the Switch. And if you look at the people who buy Animal Crossing, they're not necessarily... Like, if you look at the segments of the market, they're like some very distinct people. Like, some people bought the Switch only to get Animal Crossing. So that's why I wonder if they included it to try to get people across the line to bump it up and expand what they're playing a bit more. But we'll see. Like, I'll be super interested. I think if they do it, they'll probably do like something like Luigi's Mansion DLC as sort of like a part of the expansion. That would be my prediction if they go down that path, because that game sold well, but probably not as well as they wanted. And that's a weird DLC. I don't think it really sold well. So cool. All right. Well, let's move on to the next story.